Well, we're in 3:33 Central, so let's go ahead and kick it off. So for those of you that just got in here, welcome. This is going to be the tastyfx Tasty Trade Integration live platform demo. I'm one of your hosts, Christian. I'm on the trade desk here at Tasty Trade. With me is Glenn, one of the lead educators, or the lead educator on the tastyfx side, who's going to be showing us how we can place some trades. We're going to learn about what is Forex trading. What are some of the advantages to employing it into your portfolio or into your trading repertoire? And we'll also be answering any questions near a Q&A at the end. Awesome. Let's do it, my friend. Let's do it. So just a quick disclaimer here, you probably see it on the screen, is that we are going to be placing some live trades today. We're just placing some example trades. So we are going to be talking about, what are some reasons you might get into some trades, but any trades that we're placing are just strictly for example purposes. And I'll get back on here, get through that. Quick little disclaimer for FX. And we'll get into it. So what's really nice about this introduction of tastyfx is that we integrated it inside of the Tasty Trade platform. So right now you'll be able to access Forex trading through tastyfx on the desktop and web browser platform on Tasty Trade. Previously, tastyfx was doing its own thing. You had to open up an account with them. Now, during the process of getting Forex trading on your Tasty Trade account or getting tastyfx set up through our platform, you are going to need to submit an account application with tastyfx. But what's really nice is that you're just going to use your same Tasty Trade login credentials. So to get started or to open up an account, you're going to go to my.tastytrade.com on any kind of web browser that you're using. And once you do have an open and approved Tasty Trade account, important note as well, you're going to need an individual margin account so that you can get FX trading. So once you have an individual margin account at Tasty Trade, you'll be able to go to our web platform at my.tastytrade.com, and you'll see in this little GIF here on screen, see our logo in the top left of the platform. There's a little drop down now where you can toggle between the Tasty Trade platform and the tastyfx trading interface. And if you're a first-time user for tastyfx, it's going to prompt you to fill out your account application for tastyfx. Super, super simple. I did it myself. It only took a few minutes. And you might be requested to upload some documents like your license or maybe passport, social security card, stuff like that. So, you might want to have that on hand as you're going through the process, but generally it's pretty darn smooth. And if you do run into any road bumps, you can always reach out to newaccounts.us at tastyfx.com is the email, or you can give us a call at 888-247-1963, and there's a little phone tree, or you can click on or select a route to be routed to a tastyfx representative, and they'll help talk you through what you need to get your account set up. And then just the last piece I wanted to cover in terms of getting started or getting set up with tastyfx is that the funding for tastyfx is a little bit different than how you fund your Tasty Trade account. So what you'll need to do is have an existing margin account at Tasty Trade. You're going to want to fund that Tasty Trade account, or you can just already have funds in your existing account, and you'll complete an internal transfer on our web platform. So we do have an article, I'm sure Andy can link in the chat there, on how to fund your account, but it's super, super fast. So when you make that internal transfer, I think I did one earlier today just to test it out, and I think it updated, or I had buying power for placing FX trades in about 30 seconds. So it's very, very fast once you set up that transfer. But in terms of linking a bank account to your tastyfx account or wiring funds or anything like that, it's not available right now. You'll have to first fund your Tasty Trade account and then move funds over from there to tastyfx. And when you're withdrawing, it's the same process. You need to go back to your Tasty Trade account and then withdraw to your bank or whichever institution you're trying to go to. Great. So that's just getting set up, but let's talk about, what is Forex trading? So if you're brand new to Forex trading, it can be a little bit confusing. It's not too bad, but I always like to use the example of, imagine you're going on vacation to Italy, or maybe you're going to the UK, right? And you have plenty of US dollars, right? But you don't have a lot of pounds. So you're thinking about, oh, well, maybe I want to reach out to my bank, get some pounds before I go over, so that way I have some money to pay for things and I don't have to maybe exchange at the airport or do it at a bank in the UK. And when you're doing that transfer, pretty much what you're doing is saying, hey, I'm going to be selling some US dollars to buy some British pounds. And that same kind of transaction is what we're looking at when we're trading Forex. Now, instead of trading physical currencies and actually going through that, instead we're trading a pair where we're looking at the price difference of these currencies and we're trading or taking a speculative look on the changes in the value of, say, the pound versus the US dollar or the euro versus the US dollar. So there's a bunch of different currency pairs that you can trade. And the main kind of symbology when you're looking at this as well is that the two first letters are generally the region. So in this case, you'll see USD, so US for the United States, and then D for dollar. Or in this example too, you have the British pound, which is GBP, or I believe that's Great Britain, and then pound. So whenever you see these tickers on the tastyfx platform, it's a notation of what country is it coming from, and then also what is the currency that you're trading. I'll hand it off to you, Glenn, if you want to talk about
Yeah,
this.
great intro, Christian. Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you.
When you kind of get your when you get your gears turning about what these markets actually are, it is just the exchange rate and the amount of global participants you have in all these markets is what provides, makes this such a liquid and tradable market across the world because you do have people that are exchanging these currencies for trips. You have big corporations that are trying to hedge their year-end currency risk if they operate in many global domains. You have central banks that hold reserve currency. So a lot of players in these markets. And just breaking down kind of a practical example of how you would read these currency pairs. You already went through the three letter symbols and what that actually means in practice, and how to read this is you have your base currency or the first currency listed in the pair, and then you have your second currency, which is your quote currency. So your base currency is what you will be buying or selling when you're engaging with this currency pair. And the second quote currency is what it's quoted in, what one unit of the base currency is quoted in that second currency, and that's like what you're paying with. So in this example, buying GBP USD or going long would be buying British pounds and simultaneously selling US dollars. So a speculative position on that rate is expecting the exchange rate to go up, expecting the pound to appreciate in value compared to the US dollar. So the inverse is true as well. If you're selling this market, this exchange rate, you're actually bullish US dollar and selling it, bullish US dollar specifically against the Great British Pound. So gives you a lot more granularity here in the US. We're very US centric. And so, if you're less familiar with trading US dollars, any spot currency markets, you might just be familiar with dollar indices, dollar ETFs. And those are basically just baskets of all of these exchange rates weighted one way or another. And this gives you a much more granular way to speculate on the US dollar strength and other currencies throughout the world.
Exactly. And kind of looking back to the example I was talking about earlier too, is that, if you're going long here and buying the pound, selling the dollar, I can
Hmm.
imagine you're going on vacation. You're thinking now, oh, I'm going in 3 months, but I'm not sure if that exchange rate is going to go up or is it going to go down. Well, if I buy pounds right now with my US dollars and then the price or the value of the pound goes up, well, that's a good thing that I did that because I would have had to pay a lot more later for it. So it's the same kind of idea where, you're buying pounds now with the intention that that value of the pound is going to go up relative to the US dollars that you might have used to pay for it. Now, again, this is just kind of that real life example, but it works, it works in terms of the theory of what you're trying to do, or in terms of taking a speculative stance on the exchange rate.
Exactly. And then one thing, once we start to get into the platform, just a little technical vocabulary, is you'll see these markets quoted in pips or the minimum tick value. And in most Forex pairs, that'll be the fourth decimal place. So, these markets aren't moving, a ton compared to stocks or other asset classes that are moving cents and dollars every day. A lot more muted moves here, which is why we'll get into it, why they're able to be offered on leverage. But the minimum tick value will be the fourth decimal place. So if we're seeing these buy and sell prices here, you're seeing it quoted to the 10th of a pip. And the only reason I say often the fourth decimal place is the outlier is the Japanese yen. Those pairs are quoted to the second decimal place, just because of the actual nominal value of the yen being much higher. But the only real application when you're engaging with these markets, you're starting to trade them, is consider your per pip movement, and that'll be in the trade ticket. We'll get to that later, but it's highlighted here. Is that when you select your position size, you'll be able to see what that corresponds to as a per pip movement, just so you can get a better understanding of what your risk tolerance is, what you can actually expect from this position. Here we're looking at a mini lot, which would move $1 per pip. And to contextualize it across major pairs like the euro dollar that we're looking at here, recently we've seen a daily range of around 70 pips in a day. So that just gives you a little more context when, it can be when you're stepping into this for the first time. It's like to the fourth of a decimal place. What does that mean to me? But really look at that dollar per pip. And then it also shows you in the size here, the actual notional value that you're controlling. But we'll get into all of that trade sizing when we actually hop in the platform.
Yeah, and like you're saying, I mean, it's a little bit, I would say, closer to maybe futures trading. If anyone in here
Mhm.
has traded futures before, where you're trading ticks, and those ticks are equivalent to a certain dollar amount that isn't a 1-to-1 ratio. You buy stock, and that stock goes up $1. You have one share of stock. That means that you have an unrealized gain of $1. Whereas in this world, it's a little bit different. We're looking at pips, or in the futures term, you'd think ticks. So pips, ticks. Uh, sounds a little bit similar, right? But
Yeah.
exactly. So great explanation there, my friend. And then let's talk about some leverage.
Yeah, so this is a main advantage for a lot of traders, but leverage, of course, is a double-edged sword. Um, all of these pairs, because of their relative to other asset classes, smaller historical moves on an annual basis. These markets are offered on leverage up to 50 to 1, so that would only require 2% of buying power. So that means you're controlling a notional size of 50 times what you're actually required to put down on that position, or what you're required, how much funds you're required to have in your account to put these positions on. And that goes back to in terms of contextualizing this, really looking at that dollar per pip movement, just to see, what that kind of nominal exposure, what kind of swings that'll affect to your P&L. And these margin requirements differ by currency pairs. So these are expressed here as a percentage. and that's a percentage of the base currency. So for something like a euro dollar, you're controlling however many units of euros, and then that is margined at 3%, and then the exchange rate is applied. And so it would be, in the case of the euro, slightly higher in dollar amounts, whereas something like a US dollar, Canadian dollar is 2% in US dollars. So if it was a one lot of US dollar, Canadian dollar, the margin requirement there would just be $2,000 to control a position of $100,000. And major currency pairs, we're looking at them all here. The most liquid markets, the ones we see most people engage with, the major economic hubs, major regions, are all margin requirements of 2 to 5%. So you get your 2% with your euro dollar and your Canadian dollar, as well as that euro Canadian dollar cross, that non-dollar pair.
And now, a question for you, Glenn.
Mhm.
Are these are updating in real time to some extent, right? Based on the volatility of each of these markets. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. But because these are set from a regulatory perspective, the change to them is actually years on edge. I think the last update we had to any of these was a couple years ago. And so you can expect no real movement from the margin rates. But like I called out before, if it's something where the base currency is not the US dollar, you are actually subject to the fluctuation of the exchange rate affecting your margin requirement. And we'll get into an example of comparing Australian dollar to the euro dollar later on, and show how that could actually affect your buying power.
Yeah, and I think long story short is just, another advantage of trading Forex, and then also, this can be an additional risk as well.
Hmm.
So it's a double-edged sword where there is more risk with leverage, but you're also able to get more capital efficiency with your buying power with the amount of capital in your account. So it's
Absolutely.
similar, somewhat similar to futures where you get that a large amount of leverage is that you're able to get a little more capital efficient and maybe take some bigger plays if you're looking to, or allocate just a small amount to be able to control a large amount of notional. So it's a great advantage of trading Forex, and like you're saying, the relative stability kind of helps towards building that in.
Yeah, and a great segue into what comes to mind for a lot of people is how different are these spot markets to futures markets, because you can say, well, we already had currencies offered by Tasty Trade through the futures market, but there are some nuances between them. Futures, of course, factoring in some time and offered through an exchange, whereas Forex trading is over the counter, and tastyfx is your actual counterparty to those trades. And so here a big advantage for spot Forex is, excuse me.
Yeah, you're good, my friend. Always take a sip of water. Don't feel like you got to beat yourself up. That's happened to me many a time.
No, a big value prop here is the flexible sizing. So for smaller accounts, or really for any accounts, even these micro futures can get very big very fast, and scaling them is actually harder. Whereas with spot FX, the increment is actually in micro lots. So just, oh, my apologies.
Yeah, don't be sorry, man. It's a lot of talking on these
Yeah.
demos. It hits
So
the throat, especially at the end of the day.
a micro lot just starts at 1,000 units of currency. And so for a euro dollar, that requires just $25 of margin. And then you can scale up in those increments. So you can go zero point zero 0.02, zero point zero 0.03, and layer in and out of it. And the other point here is that the $0 commissions, or zero commissions, offered by tastyfx because of their hedging arrangement, how tastyfx is compensated with IG markets. Layering into this, compared to a flat cost commission ticket charge for futures, it can really add up when you're actively managing these positions, and your spread is your only cost to enter a lot of these any of these markets.
Exactly. It's a great benefit with having zero commissions, or just really the only cost to you is that spread between the bid and ask price. Whereas, with futures, that's eating away at you as well. You got the bid and ask spread on futures every time you get in and out of a contract based on how wide that bid ask spread is. It is slowly, you can get some slippage from time to time. It's just not an advantage for any kind of trader. And I would say too, looking at the liquidity for Forex trading, and especially too, depending on what kind of contracts on the future side you're trading, it can get a little wide, just to a lack of liquidity. But Forex market is insanely liquid. Comparing some of the amount of liquidity versus the stock market, I would say it's about 10 times as much. And, that's why because we're looking at it from a global perspective. It's not just the US stock market. So, that
Yeah,
builds
and it
into those tighter spreads where it's more of an advantage for any kind of trader looking to get into these products.
yeah, and it's important to call out is that the FX space, the spot forex market, is global, but trading through tastyfx, um, we are tastyfx is your counterparty, but the sources of liquidity are a lot greater than just one exchange. So you have global participants at all hours of the day.
I see, Glenn. You're just getting thirsty for trading some forex. I can tell you want to get on the flat more, my friend. I can tell. He wants to
Man.
start slinging. He's just too thirsty for it. But awesome. Okay, let's keep trudging forward here so we can get to some trading here in a second because I know you want it. But just some other things to consider when you're getting into trading forex is that another great advantage of it is diversification, or getting access to the global markets. Imagine you have a portfolio of stock or options and you're trading a bunch of technology stocks or just US stocks in general that you would be trading in your tastytrade account. Maybe you're not trading futures where you start to get at some commodities. You do have the different currency futures there as well. But if you're just trading stocks or US equity options, you're just simply looking at stocks that are dependent on the US dollar, and it's dependent on the overall US economy. So if the US dollar were to decrease in value or kind of weaken, that's going to have an impact on your entire portfolio if you're just holding US tech stocks or, just US companies in general. And that's where the diversification from trading these products helps out a lot. Where, yes, if the US dollar is weakening, well, then you'll see that these currencies or these other currency pairs or exchange rates are going to increase. So, US dollar goes down, the euro is generally going to go up. So that's where, you can buy some euro maybe to hedge your entire portfolio against some greater economic changes that might weaken the dollar. So it's definitely, allows you to access different sides of the world as well. Maybe if you're looking at Japan's economy or just everything on a global scale, it's a huge, huge, huge advantage to get into this. And also, just one thing to note too is that this trades 24/5. So dependent on those economic events, Fed reports, Fed announcements, or what CPI or any other job reports that come out of any country, that's where you're
Right.
able to relatively react to it pretty quickly with the forex market. So whereas with the stock market or options, it stops at 3 o'clock Central Time, unless you're doing some extended hours trading. But still, it's kind of capping your accessibility based on how some things are going in the different markets. Chinese markets, or Asian markets. You're looking at Europe, which is pretty much kind of like our overnight session. So if anything were to happen over there, you're not able to necessarily make quick adjustments, and you kind of just got to wait until the market open here in the US to then make your changes. So again, it's just more accessibility, makes it a lot easier to diversify your portfolio and just gives you some new opportunities to get into trading. And then
Yeah,
last
even
thing, or go ahead, Glenn, sorry.
yeah, even like within the US trading session, I mean, low correlated moves. And so if nothing's going on in the stock market, you can check the FX space and something might be moving there.
Exactly. And one last thing too that's super, super nice is that there's no day trading rules. So unlike securities trading or trading stocks or equity options on the tastytrade platform, when you're trading Forex with tastyfx or just Forex in general, there are no day trading rules. So you can open and close as many positions as your heart desires throughout the day, either if you're scalping or just doing some quick day trading. It's something you don't have to worry about. You don't have to have $25,000 in your account to be over that pattern day trading limit. So it's again just a nice perk when you're looking to get into trading Forex. And a question, some people might ask as well is, hey, is there any account minimums or minimum deposit requirements for starting Forex trading? And the answer simply is no. You can fund with however much you want. Obviously, if you're looking to open a position, you need to have enough cash to cover the margin requirements. But you could fund with as little as $100 or $50, or I mean, you could put in $1 if you really wanted to. I don't think you'd be able to get
Absolutely
into a
right.
position with just $1, but still, even just to test out the transfer. But you're going to get live data. You're going to be able to use all the charting tools and any of the other functionalities through the tastyfx interface or the tastytrade platform without having to fund your account. And there's no account holding requirements, either fees, just to have the account open. You can keep
Exactly.
your account open, unfunded, and you're not going to get dinged any fees later on. But great. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into the platform here. Looks like we talked about just the structure and what is FX for long enough. So let's go ahead and show what it looks like to actually place some trades on the platform.
All right, so here we're on the web platform, accessible on the web and desktop versions of the tastytrade platform. We're just going to navigate through this top tab, hitting the tastytrade logo, navigate to the tastyfx platform. This is the step as well. If it's your first time, this will prompt you to create an account. Myself already squared away here with an account with $100 funded in here, and it'll take you to the watch list. So here we've got 80 plus currency pairs available for trading, and they're ordered, in a way that I think is very digestible. We've got popular US dollar pairs first, followed by popular non-US dollar pairs, and then getting into some more granular crosses, perhaps less liquid, but can give you, if it's the unique exposure you're looking for, like dollar peso. We've got that here, all the way down to, some of these Israeli shekel, Turkish lira, but staying a lot of the liquidity and what's popular with a lot of our traders are just these top markets here, popular US dollar pairs, but also letting you know which non-US dollar crosses also have the most liquidity. So this is the watch list tab. Clicking on any of these will populate the market into your trade tab. And here, another really cool thing we've done is we've piped in the tastyfx native platform charting capabilities. And so we've got a ton of technical indicators right here, a lot of cool chart tools. We've got price data dating back all the way to 1990. So a lot of historical context here, but can get as quick as, 1 second. That chart might look a little crazy, but we can get a lot of cool charting features here. My favorite here is actually just scrolling around and seeing this percent change over whatever time frame you're looking at. And so if we're just looking today alone, we're down 0.43%. But if we zoom all the way out, see what the euro dollar's done year to date, we can keep scrolling back, and we've got from Friday, January 3rd, we're up in this market almost 11%. So a lot of cool charting capabilities. And you've
Yeah, you
also
can
got,
do drawings. So a bunch of
oh yeah.
different drawing tools that you can add in terms of adding in, your own technical analysis. An important thing to note is that this charting package is going to be different than the charting package that you'll see on our equity side or when you're in the tastytrade trading interface. So there are
Hmm.
some differences, but just they're relatively pretty darn simple when you look at the top where the drawing tool is the little pencil icon, and then also you can see that little eye icon, or I think it's the bars, right, where you're able to add in certain indicators in studies as well. So you can add in, say Bollinger Bands or MACD or RSI, Relative Strength Index. And what's really nice too is that they actually have nice descriptions on each of these
Oh
as
yeah.
well. So that's something that we don't have on our side. I mean, we had them on our help
Oh,
center, but thank you to Andy for all the help on those as well. But it's super, super nice. You want a quick description of, hey, what does this study indicator do? What does it mean? You can
very
scroll over
helpful.
that little eye. Yeah, super helpful. So you can add in all of those different indicators. And if you ever want to
Oh
remove
yeah.
them, or edit them. Glenn showed there in the bottom left there on the left side. You can click on the X to remove it, or you can click on the name and adjust the coloring. You can adjust the time period, the amount of standard deviations, or just kind of any of the parameters that are relevant
Hmm.
to that indicator or study to help you try and make a more informed trading decision. Or, we'll show placing a trade here in just a second, but you might use some of these indicators, some of this drawing or technical analysis when deciding where to set a stop loss or take profit potentially as well.
Absolutely. And then, you know, uh, getting right into the trading ticket from here, since we're already here, we'll make sure to go through all of the operational side of everything. But I know we're all excited to get into placing example trades. Um, so this trade ticket gives you a lot of flexibility for what you want to do. We've got the standard ticket and the quick ticket. The quick ticket is a really cool feature, but you got to make sure you know what you're doing. It This is one click trading. So once you understand what it actually means, um, these buy and sell buttons will actually place a market order once you've set your position size. And so here, just as an example, we can get into this market with one click, get out of it with one click, layer into it, and close all at the same time. So that's definitely one to explore, but definitely want to make sure you acknowledge all that that has to offer. But just navigating back to our standard trade ticket, here we'll just walk through all of the fields that you would need to place trade. First, you've got your market order or you've got your limit order. Only difference with the limit order is you get to set your price level here. But sticking to a market order, you'll select your direction, either sell or buy, and then you'll note your spread here, and then you'll navigate to your position size. You can scale up or down. Um, as we noted, if it exceeds your funds, it'll tell you right here. So nothing lost there. But sticking to the minimum size here, as we called out in the slides, it'll show you your dollars per pip, and the notional that your position is controlling, the ability to add a stop loss or a take profit, and then critically here is your margin required and what your overall resulting position is here. So from there, you can place the trade, and then your position will show up on the chart and give you the ability to add a stop loss or take profit directly from the chart, or close your position directly from the chart.
Yeah, you want
So that's
to
how you,
remove that indicator really, really quick just to
yeah.
clean it up on there. Yeah, make it a little bit nicer. There we go. But yeah, this is, I would say, a fantastic functionality here on the tastyfx platform is that if you do have an open position here, all you got to do is just left click on it. And then you'll see that line that shows stop loss slash take profit there. And all you got to do is just scroll your mouse over and then drag up or down. And that's going to start setting up a take profit or stop loss. So In that case, dragged it up to set a take profit up there at $14,480, and then you can set a stop loss as well below. And you'll notice too, it shows, hey, that take profit is at 70.9 pips above, and that the stop loss is, what is that, 63, 83 pips,
83.
83 pips below. So, and then at any time too, you can go in there and edit those as well. So you can always click on it and edit those numbers. So instead of dragging, if you want to set a specific number, you can type it in. Or if you want to get rid of those orders entirely as well, you just delete the number that's there. So on the stop loss or take profit, we just removed the decimals or all the numbers in there, and that'll just remove the order too. So it's a little bit of a different functionality than you might expect when setting up bracket orders or OCO orders on the tastytrade platform. But once you get used to it, it is very intuitive and clean functionality that tastyfx offers through their interface.
And once you, absolutely right. And once you've got your position on, you can go over to your positions tab and see your opening level, where the price currently is, your running P&L, and your running positions. It also gives you the functionality to one-click close here, and definitely want to call out that this will trigger a market order to close your position right away. If you want to set more specific targets, you can go back to the trade tab and put in a limit order or amend with the existing take profit or stop loss functionality we just called out. Your orders similarly will appear on this order tab if we were to place a market order to add to this position, buy another micro lot at a more desirable price. You can place your limit order. This will show up similarly on the chart, and it'll show up in your order. It shows you when it's good till, and you can delete it also right here.
Yeah. So it's just like the activity tab on the tastytrade platform in terms of seeing your current working orders and being able to cancel them from there as well.
Yep. And if we were to close this position using the one-click close, it would tell us right here, we would note the change in our top navigation here to our funds are available, our equity, and how much margin we have currently allocated. And then we can go over to the history tab and see record of all of those transactions, as well as funding.
Well, it looks like I owe you a beer there, Glenn, for using your account for the demo today. Couple bucks, but I got you back.
I
We'll hit it on
appreciate
this
it.
weekend. Yeah, no worries, my friend. But yeah,
But
so
yeah,
super similar to the history tab again on the Tasty Trade platform, where you're able to filter based on certain date ranges, and you'll also be able to download a CSV file or a file of your transactions. In that top right corner of the history tab, there is a little button up there where you should be able to download a CSV of all those transactions if you want to go back and do any kind of reconciliation on your own. But I think, Glenn, you're lead it to you on in terms of the statements tab if you wanted to talk about that as well.
yeah, and you're also you have the ability here to download your statements. You'll get these statements emailed to you as well. But if you are wanting to do some more reconciliation or accounting on your end, you're able to generate statements here of your recent transactions. And then another piece that I seem to glaze over because I was so excited to get trading. If you haven't funded your tastyfx account, you can do so from the Manage tab here. Very simple because the My Money Transfers is the only thing on this Manage tab. On the Tasty Trade side, it'll say tastyfx transfers. It's a delineated row there. But here it's very easy to select which account you're going to and from. If I wanted to withdraw from my Forex account, it'll show you how much you're available to withdraw and send it back to your individual margin account at Tasty Trade, or vice versa. Just enter the amount and continue. The threshold here is 3 p.m. Around 3 p.m. Central Time for before then. Your transfer should be pretty close to instant. Afterwards, it may take until 6 a.m. the following day to fully clear. But yeah, if you're trading this during the day, these transfers are lightning quick.
Yeah, it's just a limitation with the banking hours of our clearing firm Apex in terms of getting funds in the afternoon. But awesome. If you can go back to the trade ticket really quick, Glenn, I got a quick question here in terms of trading with the quick mode. So I see Donna asking, if you enter the trade using the quick order tab, do those take profit and stop loss automatically appear also? So when you're trading within the quick order mode, yes, on your chart, you'll be able to set up a take profit and stop loss after, but you'll have to do it after the position is already open. So it's not gonna, you can't set up default take profit and stop losses with the quick order. It's definitely more of I would say, a scalping or a quick in and out if you're looking to have very fast transactions on placing trades. Now, if we were to, if you want to set up another limit order really quick there, Glenn, if we go to standard, trade that trade type to order, and then maybe we're layering on, we're buying some more of the euro. We can go to price level and enter in the price. Maybe we want to set it just a little bit below where the current market price is for it to trade down. And then expiry two, just a note, that is going to be how long the order continues to work until it's filled. So imagine, we placed a opening order 100 pips below the current market price. Well, it's probably going to take a little bit for the market to trade down to our limit order. So we want to have our order continue to work until either we want to cancel it ourselves or until a certain date. So GTC is kind of the most standard and generally used, where it's, hey, this order is going to continue to work until it's filled or you manually cancel it. And then GTD is going to be similar, except it's going to work until a date. And then after that date or on that date, it's going to cancel. And then, or you can manually cancel it any time in between. So I would generally say most people are doing a GTC, but also too, if you're like, hey, I only want this order working for the day, you can set the date so that way you don't have to go back and manually cancel it later.
Exactly
And
right.
then in terms of answering your question, so it's kind of like setting up an OTOCO or a one triggers and one cancels the other order. So this is an opening order, right? We're adding onto our position. What's super, super nice about the order ticket here on the tastyfx interface is that we can set up our stop loss and take profit within this opening order ticket as well. So we can set up our stop there based on the amount of pips. So we can use the arrows or we can type it in as well in terms of determining where we want to set the stop loss. We can do the same thing for the take profit. And I think it's just it's nearing to the first maybe do like 20 on each. And you'll see there it also will show you the dollar amount as well. So we're looking at maybe a $2 move down. I mean, again,
Hmm.
each pip is giving us 10 cents in either direction
Right.
or stop loss. So you see that red -1 there, dollar. So you can see like, hey, okay, if my take profit gets hit, I've made $2 on this trade. If my stop loss gets hit, I lose $1. And then when you go ahead and start to go to place that trade, so go ahead and place it, my friend, if you could. Then you'll see so we already see that open position that we had, but now we can see our working limit order there in the middle. And we also see our take profit and stop loss at the same time. So that's how you would place an OTOCO order. And then, you can always go back and adjust it on the chart or cancel it through the orders tab. But again, just kind of long story short, if you're looking to place and again, here we wouldn't be able to cancel the other two until the first order of or one triggers limit order there to open the position gets filled. But yeah, in terms of the quick trading mode, there isn't any kind of take profit or stop loss, partially because it's more of a manual kind of trading interface or trading option.
Exactly.
If that's a good answer there, Glenn, if I covered it well.
Yeah. No, you nailed it.
Awesome. Well, I think we covered quite a bit here on the interface. There's some other stuff we could go into in terms of the drawings, in terms of the charts and how you can change the chart style and stuff. But just kind of want to open it up for questions. Any questions on how to place orders, order reconciliation, order types, the different terms there that you might see on the watch list tab. Anything, any kind of questions, feel free to toss it in the Q&A or chat right now. Well, you
Hey,
got the opportunity.
I can go through these columns real fast.
Cool. Yeah, go ahead and
That
we'll
is
we'll see if anyone asks any questions in the meantime.
yeah. So you've got the symbol, the bid, the ask, pretty self-explanatory. But the spread here, worth calling out because that is your only cost to enter a trade. And these are variable with the liquidity and volatility of these markets. So an important call out here is right now, even though it's 24/5 trading, these markets are available to trade. The 4 p.m. Central to around 8 p.m. Central time slot of every trading day is generally the least liquid. And so we're seeing a lot of these spreads widen out. But in your markets like USD JPY, your dollar yen, these markets will be as tight as zero point 0.8 pips, as well as your euro dollar, zero point 0.8 pips. I think one of the useful help articles on product details that Andy popped in the chat, you'll see all of these minimum spreads, but just noting that these are right now a lot wider because we are in this roll period and a period of less liquidity. And then here you've got your net change and your net change percentage. These have just reset for the day at 4 p.m. Central. And so less data here right now, but already getting some movement in this dollar Swiss franc of about to the tune of about 6 pips. And then here we've got our swap bid and swap ask called out. These are the indicative overnight funding rates. And these are quoted in pips just like this spread is. And so this will tell you if you're holding a position past 4 p.m. Central, you are subject to holding this position overnight. And what that means is that you are subject to the refinancing of these positions because you're buying one currency and selling the other. And so a big factor behind that is the overnight interest rates of each currency. And that can give you the opportunity to be debited every night for your position or even credited. So these positive values, like you'd see for if you were to hit the ask buy and go long US dollar JPY, US dollar Japanese yen, you would actually be getting a positive carry overnight because you're buying US dollars, you're holding US dollars at around 4.5% and financing that with the Japanese yen's rate of around 0.5%. So that interest rate differential is large enough to merit a positive overnight funding charge. So if you were long this market, you'd actually be credited 4 pips here today. But just something to note when you're thinking about whether to hold these positions long term or get in and out of them in a day, if it's something you don't want to remember or take into consideration, remembering to layer out of your positions by 4 p.m. Central, or if it is part of your strategy, like we've seen in popularity, we've seen it grow in popularity, the dollar yen carry trade, for example, because you could, in theory, profit from just holding this position, rolling it overnight and overnight. But of course, if the actual price action moves against you, it can quickly erase those positive carries.
Perfect. Well, great descriptions there, my friend. Some questions that came in while you were going over that is there functionality to be able to place a limit order directly from the chart, kind of like trading from charts, but not within the order ticket? Is that something we can do as of right now?
Not as of right now,
Yeah.
but what you can do is set any type of order here at any price level and um, and alter it from the chart directly. So um, moving that up and down, you can do that seamlessly. Um, so
Yeah. So it's
it's
close.
on
It's
the same
close.
screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, in terms of like the Tasty Trade equity side of the grid mode trading or trading on the charts, it's similar. But yeah, you can't just right click on a price on the chart to start it. You would need to uh, probably place it a few pips below, and then you can drag it to your price. But I'm sure it's something that the tastyfx team will take his feedback and kind of look towards maybe adding in the future. So good question. And then some other questions coming in. I saw a question asking about existing tastyfx accounts. So if you were already a tastyfx customer before this, unfortunately there isn't a way to transfer over your, oh my goodness, computer was about to run out of battery. But there is no way to transfer over your existing tastyfx account to your tastytrade integration. Instead, you would have to open up a new tastyfx account with your tastytrade login credentials. But
Right.
again, it's a pretty darn fast process. It's just in
And
terms of having your existing funds or positions, you would have those kind of two separate accounts. Now, it's still the same tastyfx that's handling your support and providing you the service. But in terms of logging in and accessing those accounts or which platform you're trading on, there would be a separation between the two, Daryl. So I hope that answers your
yeah,
question.
but able to hold both simultaneously. So
Yeah.
there's no, if you apply for this one, it won't say that you already have an account. It'll ask you, it'll prompt you to acknowledge that you do already have an account. But if you are trying to keep trading strategies separate, much like on the native TastyFX side, if you have sub accounts, you're able to have multiple Forex accounts. You're able to retain that native TastyFX account and open a new one and fund this one within Tasty Trade.
And then another question here. Do we have any plans with the Tasty Live crew? Any kind of educational content around trading the markets, or do you have any suggestions? Or I guess I'll read the question in full, but is there any recommendations for kind of strategies around trading FX or any kind of content or live
Yeah,
content that you got
absolutely.
going?
That's something that the our friends over at Tasty Live definitely are starting to take up, increasing their Spot FX content. We've got some learn articles on the Tasty Trade side that we'll continue to hammer out. We also have some news articles every day coming out from Tasty FX on our website as well, and on Tasty Live we've got Forex Focus every day at 6:30 a.m. Where myself, Peter Molmat, and Frank Caberna are talking daily about all of these products and all of the market moves.
But awesome. Thank you, Glenn, for joining us for the demo today. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Andy, for answering questions in chat. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the day and good luck with all your trading. We'll see you guys on the next one.